Pregnancy, the miracle of life. How does it happen? Well, when a mommy loves a daddy very much, they make a baby. The end. I'm just messing with you. That statement isn't completely wrong, but today we'll be looking at the nitty gritty details of pregnancy. It all starts at fertilization. A male's sperm cells must make it all the way to the female's fallopian tubes in order to meet the egg cell. After one lucky sperm cell is able to make contact with the egg, it fuses into a diploid zygote. The first week of pregnancy contains mostly a process of cleavages and cell division, and the formation of a morula, or a cluster of cells. By the end of the week, we should be able to see the development of the blastocyst, which will have made its way to the uterus. Now this is where all the magic happens. The blastocyst is currently still the size of a pen tip, and is grouped into the blastocele, trophoblast, and the inner cell mass. The inner cell mass, that goes on to become the baby, directs the zygote towards the endometrium and begins implantation. The outer layer of cells, known as the trophoblast, begin to secrete the hormone, human chorionic gonadotropin. This hormone acts very similarly to LH and stimulates the corpus luteum to continue producing estrogen and progesterone to maintain the endometrium. This bypasses the original feedback mechanism from the brain. These hormones also help to form the chorionic membrane around the blastocyst.
At week 2, we now consider the zygote an embryo, and we see the process of gastrulation. This is when the blastocyst develops into the extra-embryonic membranes. The inner cell mass will begin to develop a cavity that becomes the amniotic sac containing amniotic fluid, while the blastocele becomes the yolk sac and the allantois. A portion of the chorion and a part of the maternal cells will form the placenta around day 10, and will continue to grow gradually along the baby. The cells between the amnion and the yolk sac form the embryonic disc. Gastrulation is quite important as it marks the formation of the primary germ cells.
The ectoderm is important for the formation of the outside layer of the fetus as well as for neurulation. The mesoderm develops into the baby's circulatory system, lungs, skeletal systems, and muscles. And the endoderm develops into the digestive system, the liver, pancreas, and a part of the lungs. The three germ layers will be the basis of the embryo. The first notable stage is neurulation. Taking place between weeks 3 to 8 with the embryonic disc flattening, the ectoderm will fold on itself to form the neural tube. This is the basis for the embryo's nervous system. A part of the mesoderm, known as the notochord, will then go on to develop into the baby's vertebrae. The baby continues to grow in the embryonic stage with the growth of the baby's brain and other organs. At week 5, the baby is about 0.5 cm. Then it grows to 1 cm at week 7. And by week 8, all internal organs would have been formed, and the embryo can now be considered a fetus.
The baby draws nutrition from the mother and disposes of waste through the mother via the umbilical cord, which now consists of the yolk sac and the allantois. The placenta also now plays a larger role in the growth of the fetus. Production of HCG declines as the placenta takes over for the corpus luteum and begins to produce its own estrogen and progesterone, along with a couple other important hormones. During fetal development stage, the organs of the fetus continues to develop and grow. It loses its temporary gills, webbed fingers, and its tail through apoptosis, and begins to slowly resemble a human more and more. At the same time, the mother's body must slowly accommodate for the baby's birth. The placenta secretes two other hormones for this. The placenta secretes a hormone known as relaxin that inhibits uterine contractions, thus preventing a premature birth. It also produces HPL along with prolactin, a hormone released by the pituitary gland, in order to prepare the mother for breastfeeding by stimulating the mammary gland and increasing blood flow to the mother's breast. When approaching the 40-week mark, the fetus is almost completely developed and grown to a size of about 50 centimeters. Around this time, progesterone has stopped being secreted, and the fetus begins to secrete cortisol to stimulate more estrogen release. The cells in the placenta also begin to develop receptors accepting oxytocin. When the time comes, the fetus secretes oxytocin that bind to these cells and signal for the release of the hormone prostaglandin. When we previously learned hormones, we followed their pathways and learned of the negative feedback loop. Hormones in pregnancy, such as HCG, also have a negative feedback system. On the other hand, prolactin and oxytocin follow a positive feedback mechanism. This means that once a certain threshold has been reached, output of these hormones does not cease, but rather continues to grow and grow. In the case of oxytocin and prostaglandin, they trigger the contraction of the uterine walls. Every time a contraction occurs, the baby's head pushes against the cervix, causing it to widen slightly each time. This is the process of dilation and the start of parturition. When the cervix has been dilated to about 10 centimeters, about the size of a grapefruit, labor begins. The mother begins to feel the urge to push. The baby is the first to go, and the afterbirth, the placenta, occurs around 30 minutes after. Now that's the miracle of life.
The mother produces oxytocin, which works alongside the prolactin produced previously and enables the contraction of the mammary glands and the mother to lactate and breastfeed.
All this time, you may have been wondering how the baby grows from a simple neuroplate to a fully formed baby. This can be explained through the process of morphogenesis. Most animals have a section of DNA known as the homeobox genes. These genes code for the expression of different parts of the body, and can be grouped into genes coding for the head and other organs down the strand. Now, ain't that spectacular? Moving backwards a little, since we've covered majority of pregnancy, let's look at something that a lot of Canadians are probably aware of: marijuana. The drug can be found almost everywhere in Canada. Personally, I can identify 3 dispensaries in my neighborhood. As its use is so common, you'd think we would be more responsible about using it. However, there are still some who use the drug even while pregnant. This drug is known as a teratogen. Basically, it is an external agent that impacts the development of the fetus. It has implications on the viability of the embryo and may lead to possible miscarriages. To be more specific, it may affect the embryo's neurulation. THC affects the uptake of folic acid, and once it crosses the placenta, it may reach the fetus's blood-brain barrier. This may cause complications with the formation of the neural tube and can lead to development of spina bifida, which may lead to forms of paralysis. That's why it's always important to watch what goes into your body during pregnancy. Overall, pregnancy is a tremendous feat for humanity and consists of several processes that may be overlooked sometimes. For all you expecting fathers and mothers, try to be understanding of whoever may be carrying your child. And remember that they have basically become a temporary home for another human being. Pregnancy can be weird, but at least now you know the science behind it.